Well, hello and welcome to the No Filter Needed podcast, where we cut the fluff, expel those myths, and kick unobtainable standards to the curb. I am your host, Camilla Collins, self-image consultant, author, and founder of multiple beauty and creative entertainment agencies. I am super passionate about empowering people to change their self-perception and reimagine not just the beauty, but the huge amount of power within themselves. And this podcast is in support of my mission to do just that. Hello, and welcome back to the hashtag No Filter Needed podcast. And today we have another interview, and it's been ages since I've done an interview, and I'm going to start all of those back up again now, which I'm super excited for. And first up, I am joined by the lovely Katie Hilton-Bird, who I actually had the pleasure of sharing the stage with back in July at the Miami Pro Show, which is a fitness modeling competition. Now, Katie is a professional pole dancer, she's a performer, and she's a Pilates instructor. And she's always had a passion for sport and fitness and basically always been training for something or other. But this year was her first time competing as a bikini athlete. And since July, I've had my time off, chilling, eating, drinking. But Katie has basically, straight after the Miami Pro, been soldering on, swiping up trophies elsewhere, and is currently hammering down on her prep for the PCA British Finals, which is in a few weeks' time, I think.
Just over 2 weeks.
How long?
Just over 2.
Just over 2 weeks. Exciting. So look, I know we're going to have a really good discussion around, what it takes to train, to diet and compete for shows. But actually the reason I asked Katie on the show today is because she shared a post recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that said, the title was "Stop Commenting on People's Weight and Appearances." And then the caption went on to detail some of the negative and hurtful comments that she's received. And having received similar feedback from people myself, I really wanted to open this one up for discussion. So first of all, let's properly welcome you, Katie. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So what made you want to compete? Has this been brewing for a while, or is this just something you just decided, sod it, I'm just random, I'm going to go and start competing?
Bit of both, really. So I originally started looking into it a few years ago, about 2018. A few people I followed on Instagram, they were doing it and I was obsessed. Like, I was constantly looking at what they were doing, watching all their shows and things like that. And I was like, that's definitely something I wanted to do. So I looked into it a little bit at the time, and I looked into some coaches, and I suppose I just got scared. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, that I wouldn't be good enough, things like that. And I kind of just pushed it to one side and was like, I don't have time, and made excuses, really. And then obviously the pandemic hit. And the first lockdown, I was really motivated to do stuff. So obviously with my pole dancing, I was doing a lot of flexibility training and training at home for that. And then the second lockdown hit, and it was the complete opposite. Like, I did absolutely nothing, which is fine, but for me, I am very busy and active all the time, and I just couldn't get myself going at all. And obviously we got through the second lockdown, and then I caught COVID in October, so I had to have obviously a break from training and stuff just because I couldn't breathe. And then when we went into the third lockdown, I was like, right, do you know what? I'm getting over COVID. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. Like, I know the gyms aren't open, but there's no better time to get my head around like meal prepping, get my head around a routine and training. And I literally messaged Charlie, my prep coach, and was like, I want to join. I had a meeting with him and I just signed up, and I was like, right, I'm doing it. I'm just going to go for it. It's been a few years that I've been thinking about it. So yeah, and I'm really glad I did, because now I'm obsessed. Like, I feel like I'm going to be doing it for a long time now.
It's But it is like, it's kind of addictive, or you know, and you do get the bug a bit, because I don't. I guess that I don't know if you feel the same way, but also particularly at this sort of time, and there's a lot of things outside of our control in life, in general. But at the moment, and it's kind of the one thing, you know, your physique. It's a great kind of focus point, and once you start seeing progress, and of course you don't really at the beginning, do you? And then it's when you get to that peak week and everything kind of dials in, and you're like, this is amazing, like it's magic. So it's really easy, I think, to get hooked on that. But I mean, you're an absolute trooper, because you're just, as I said, soldering on. You've carried on your first show, and I think, you know, it's right to not lose that momentum with it. And you went on. Talk us through the federations, actually, because I competed back in 2018, as more of a random challenge 7-week thing. I was not warmed up to the idea at all, really, and just kind of went in for a hard 7-week prep. And that was, I think they had just joined. I don't know, was it WB? I don't know which federation it was, but obviously I know, and I had no idea what I was doing. I literally just winged it on stage and copied the other girls. I didn't get a posing coach. I just, yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so this one so with Miami Pro and also the Pure Elite show, which you did as well. I feel they're very, very different to some of the other federations, which have, I don't know, I feel there's more of a kind of, someone actually used the word pageant, but I kind of more kind of routine-y, maybe a little bit more relaxed than other federations. I don't know. How do you feel about having switched federations now and competing in both?
Yeah, so we are very different. I started with Pure Elites. That was the first show I did. I did Miami Pro a few weeks later, and then obviously PCA 3 weeks after that. I would say to people, definitely try the different styles and see which suits you better. So coming into this, like, even though it's something I'd been like looking at for a while, I was oblivious to it all. Like, I didn't really understand why the federations were different and the difference between the federations. And you are right, like with Miami Pro and Pure Elite, they are a little bit more pageant-y. So although your physique does play a big role in it, there's also a lot more to do with sort of your stage presence, your appearance, your makeup, your hair, the overall package. And then again, although with the bodybuilding federations, they still do look at that, but that's a lot smaller part, and it is mainly your physique they're looking at. So like for me, now I've tested both. I actually thought I would prefer the fitness model federations, but now I've done them both. For me, I definitely prefer the bodybuilding federations, and that's sort of the route I'm going to go down from now. I think I know more what the bodybuilding federations are looking for me, so there's something I can work on. That's the one thing I found difficult with the fitness model federations. You don't really get much feedback, and I found it hard to work out where I needed to improve on. Obviously, everything, there's always stuff to improve on, but it's harder for me to know how I can build on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, yeah, you're right. There's so many variables. If there's not one, if it's very much kind of taking into consideration the makeup, the color and style of the bikini, the routine itself, like all of kind of this, along with the actual physique. And obviously bikini is a lot more, it's worth saying, bikini is a lot more kind of relaxed than and fitness, rather than the whole kind of trained figure and physique, which is a lot leaner, and looking for symmetry and things like that. But that also makes it kind of harder, really. And I guess it just depends, as it always does depend, who you're up against on stage. And there might be a little bit of politics going on in shows, potentially.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, like, just it's how I was after Pure Elite. I think I came 5th in bikini, and at the time I was really upset with that, but not because of my placing. I felt like I messed up myself massively. Like the second I stepped on that stage, I just went to a bag of nerves and I ran through the routine. And then at Miami Pro in the first category with bikini, I came 5th again. And I was so pleased with that. But because I knew that I had done everything I could. So I didn't feel disappointed at all in myself on that one. So I was really pleased with the placing then.
I think a lot of us had a really bad experience at Pure Elite, didn't we? Feeling rushed. And it was kind of like the warm up for all of us. And I was never planning to do that show. I just kind of did one a week earlier. And I thought, what better way to rehearse than actually on a stage? Well, it wasn't really with an audience, kind of an audience, because we were technically obviously limited. But yeah, just speaking on that, and I think we probably had the similar experiences with the Miami Pro stage and the Pure Elite stage. But when I stepped out onto that Pure Elite stage, I literally was completely consumed by nerves. My feet immediately just started sweating. I took one step forward and I was sliding through my shoes, and I was literally paralyzed. And my mind was like, I was like, just pull yourself together, like sort it out. And I mucked up my routine completely. And I thought I was hurried actually on stage, but now I look back at the footage, which I did get back from them, and I was like, I wasn't at all. It was all in my head. I think it's backstage and you know that we were running behind, so it just shows what it can do to you, which is why I said to myself, I gave myself a good talking to coming away from that. And maybe you did the same and thought, do you know what, it's so, because you feel so bad, you've just got to go out there and enjoy yourself, otherwise the whole thing is a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same, and I was much more relaxed at Miami Pro because I just was like, I took the pressure off myself, and I was like, do you know what? I want to be here to have fun, do the best I can. Like, I've put all this training in, and obviously with the shows getting postponed, I'd already been training since November last year. So I think just being more relaxed on the day made such a massive difference.
Yeah, I second that as well. Absolutely. And sometimes you can't get there without having the bad experience in the first place, or the rough ride, and then you just think, do you know what, to hell with it, I'm just going to go out there, and that's where the real confidence comes from, and that's where you end up nailing it, really, isn't it? So just going back to that, so you said you've been on prep since November, and I know a lot of people who were planning on doing stuff that then obviously didn't kind of happen because we were still in lockdown. Abby as well, who's with Abby Mack
she's with Charlie too.
Yeah, she's with Charlie too, and I know she's like, I've been on prep for like a year. Yeah, the shows obviously didn't go ahead, and then they were pushed back to July. So how was your kind of diet and training plan sort of start in November, and then how was it kind of changed to accommodate? Like, did you go off plan or have like a few weeks off and then come back on it, or did you kind of just have to really stay on it?
So initially, I think the comps were initially in April, so I started in November with Charlie, and I was cutting like straight away, sort of to see where I was at. Once the comps got moved, my food went up. I went back into more like a maintenance, just give me more energy to train harder and stuff for a few months. And then again, once we'd got back towards the competitions, started cutting again. It's not too bad because with the plan, we obviously get sent a meal plan, but we get a lot of education through the website that Charlie runs on how you can like meal swap, swap in and out your carbs and stuff like that, so you can make it a little bit more interesting. So when I'm aiming to lose weight and cutting, I try to stick to the meal plan as much as possible, but then when I'm maintaining or building, I do swap out quite a lot just to get more variety and things like that. So it wasn't too bad. Like, I've not found it too difficult. It's only the last couple of weeks for a comp where it gets a bit tough.
Yeah, and narrowing it down. But I think you have to have that break, don't you? Because if it starts getting really monotonous and boring, and we've all got kind of our vices, and I personally feel like we need to have that release at some point in the week and regularly, not just like white knuckling it through to sort of 3-4 weeks and then having a blowout and a binge. So mixing it up regularly obviously makes a difference. My vice is just got to be like some wine on the weekend. I just can't, and that is just not conducive to. There's something about alcohol that just sits under your skin, like you can't get rid of it. Diet, I think, is a bit different. With general.
since I had COVID, I hate the taste of any alcohol, which is like literally like if my mum a while back was like, "Oh, have a glass of prosecco," and I was like, "Oh, I'll have one with you." Obviously, when I wasn't on plan, and I was like, I just don't enjoy it. So that is one thing that it's a good job I'm doing this plan now, because there's no point in me drinking because it tastes horrible.
Really? Is there anything that's tasted that still tastes kind of funny?
Mint, so like toothpaste, anything minty, and alcohol. That's pretty much it now.
God. Mint, and will that stay? Because a friend of mine's girlfriend actually had the same kind of thing. Like everything she tasted was absolutely horrible. She had to wear like a nose plug, and they said that was pretty much she was going to kind of have that ongoing. Just one of the like long COVID symptoms, or just one of the symptoms that you're stuck with, which is madness.
So it's been a year, so who knows? It may come back, may not.
Well, the alcohol was not such a bad thing, and mint. Okay, no mojitos, but you don't like alcohol anyway. So, so what have you found the hardest thing about prepping for a show? Would you say?
Probably so to start with, social occasions, and that's something I've tried to work on quite a lot, because obviously when you first start, you're trying to just get your head around it all. It is overwhelming at first if you've never been on a diet plan and never had to have such a sort of strict routine to fit everything in that you need to get in your day. And then someone throws a social occasion into the event, and it's really easy to just not go. But obviously you don't want to isolate yourself. Say I've been prepping since November pretty much. Like if I'd have said no to all the social events in that time, I don't think I'd have any friends or a family that were talking to me left. So I'd say that was one of the hardest things to navigate to start with, but I do think that it gets easier the longer you go on and the more you can learn to integrate certain things. Like for example, a couple of weekends ago, we were at a wedding reception, and I was like, well, I could take my Tupperware box of food, but who wants to sit at a wedding reception with Tupperware? And then they were serving like chicken skewers, which were just like grilled chicken and peppers, and they had salad. So I just made up, like eyeballed it on roughly the right amounts for that, because a one-off isn't going to damage your progress. Obviously, you don't want to be guessing it and trying to make your plan up as you go, but for an odd one so that you can join in with the family, I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you must have got more comfortable with, as you said, like eyeballing. You start learning the measurements and things just by eye and know roughly kind of what you've had. But I mean, that kind of brings on to a really good point of like tracking and how valuable tracking is. Both workouts, like calories out. I don't know if you have anything that tracks kind of the calories that you're burning. I've got a MyZone belt that I use. But just having all that data, like I never used to be a fan of data. Now I'm just obsessed with stuff. You can see what's going in, you can see what's coming out, and then you know where you're at, as opposed to kind of just being a bit worried about, I don't know, how this is going to affect me. When you've got everything in front of you, then it's so much easier, isn't it, to work out how things are going to go, or technically bank. You were talking about if it fits in your macros earlier, kind of swapping foods in and out, but also upping cardio or banking calories and things like that are all things you can do. Have you found it really beneficial to do all of that?
Yeah, so I don't track too much on like my output and stuff. Obviously, we get given like a step target, cardio target, and obviously we get given our meal plan, which has our calories and our macros for the day. And then I just work with that rather than doing like any extra to eat more or anything like that. But like I said, I've obviously been prepping for a comp like all the time, so it has been a bit more strict. If I go into like off season, then it'll be a bit more flexible in terms of things like that.
And what have you learned? Because I found my first show prep was like I learned so much about myself, having to sit there with myself on my own with my thoughts, feelings, not being able to stuff down with food or alcohol, or busy myself with kind of social stuff that a lot of things kind of came up. Have you experienced the same thing?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's definitely changed my mindset a lot. I'm much more productive because I've got so much to fit in a day. I've got like your meal prep, your steps, your cardio, your training. Without planning your days out, it's completely overwhelming. And then you get to a point in the day where you've got so much still to do. And it almost, like coming into negative mindset, it almost then puts you in this negative mindset of like, oh, well, I'm not going to get it all done. So I'm not doing it, sort of thing. So because I've had to plan everything out, it's made me much more productive in general life. Like I'm getting a lot more done than I would before, rather than sitting down and watching the telly or anything like that. I'll get my stuff done first, and then what time I've got left, I can sit and watch Netflix or whatever's on. And also, I think it makes you a little bit more selfish, but not necessarily in a bad way. So you do prioritize yourself a little bit more because, again, you've got stuff you need to get done in that day. Before, I may have been like, oh yeah, well, I'll if someone wants to do something else, I'll be like, oh well, we'll do that, and sacrifice some things I would have done. Whereas it's made me realize that I can prioritize stuff that's important to me a little bit more over everybody else's, which sounds bad. Like if you say you're selfish, it sounds bad, but sometimes you need that because you can be too far the other way.
No, I totally agree. And I think I don't think we're any good to anyone unless we're being quite selfish in that. I think the word selfish has got a bit of a bad rap.
Yeah.
Looking after ourselves first, and we're not in the best place to be a good friend or a good parent or, whatever, a good customer, just anything to anyone else. So I think it's important to do that. And also I think you realize, I don't know if there's certain people, that's why I say environment's massively important, and by environment obviously physical surroundings like stuff, but also people as well and how people affect you. Yeah. And there's certain friends that I have who I love dearly, and family members, that I will kind of drift off to unhelpful places with, and when you're on prep there's like no room for that. So it's managing that, and you don't want to be like, that's it, can't speak, which was my first ever prep for 7 weeks. I just said to people, I'll see you in 7 weeks, leave me alone for the time being. But longer, you have to work that in and kind of manage it. And I think it really makes you think about the effect other people have on you, the different environments, the places that you go to, and the activities that you do, whether they energize or drain you and keep you on track or veer you off away from your goals and things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a massive one, and especially surrounding yourself with people who align with your goals, I suppose, makes all the difference, definitely.
Have you got like a new, I guess in sort of Charlie's group, I guess you're all holding each other accountable, and that's massively important, isn't it, for you to kind of cheer each other on? Particularly, is everyone doing shows who works with Charlie? Is it purely shows?
No, he does do lifestyle coaching as well, but he does have a group where everyone supports each other. So if someone's having a bad day or something's gone wrong, or even something as little as like they've got to the gym and they can't use a piece of equipment that they would normally use, and they're not confident yet on like switching out, they can put in the group like, what can I do instead? And rather than it being a point of stress for them, they can just get advice from the rest of the team. So it is good. And obviously your support. I mean, Abby, who you mentioned earlier, she's really good for support. And obviously she's been through it a few times with different competitions. So she knows that we're all going to get prep brain a bit and start having wobbles now and again. And she's always there to talk people back up when they need it.
Oh, I love Abby. Yeah, I've been chatting to her on Instagram, and poor thing, she's super not well at the moment. I'm hoping when she's better, she'll come on here and I can do an interview with her as well. But sounds a bit, well, we don't know what it is yet, but she's done a lot, and maybe a touch of kind of burnout and just, system kind of shutting down as well, which is easy kind of to happen. And speaking of which, how, have you had any kind of health issues? I'm talking about kind of physical health. You had to really sort of look after that or kind of pull back a bit because you've gone too hard, because it's quite easy to go too hard, isn't it, with like new stuff. And it's, it can be a lot of weight training, accidents happen, a lot of cardio that just knocks you out, and also with the food as well? Like, there's a lot of changes.
Yeah. Not too much really. I've been all right. I had a couple of weeks where my joints just hurt leading up to one of the I think it might have been Miami Pro or PCA, one of them. They've all merged into one now. But that I got over that quite quickly. I think once I'd got the comp over, I probably just, because I'd done 3 in a row, I think I probably just had overdone it a little bit then. I have lost my cycle at the moment. So after the British finals, and I am thinking about doing 2 bros 2 weeks later.
Still going.
Then that'll be a focus for me to sort of get back then. And I don't mind talking about it because it is something that obviously a lot of people do go through. And it's something that when I started, I was adamant, like, I don't want this to happen. And unfortunately, most people probably will lose their cycle when they get to that low body weight. So as long as I get on it, yeah, as long, I just, it's not, obviously it's a big deal, but it's not permanent, hopefully. So that's what I'll be focusing on when we get over the competitions.
Get everything back in full working order. And this is why it's not sustainable, and you need that off season as well, and it's not a realistic goal to be on that. But at the same time, while you're here, let's capitalize on the moment. I'm sure
Yeah.
I almost have kind of, and I was talking to Abby about this because she was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to compete again. This was sort of immediately after the Miami Pro show. Well, then she was going to aim for a show, but she had she was moving and then she started a new job and it was all going on. And I just said, oh, I don't know if this is the best timing.
Yeah.
She wanted to, a bit like you, keep with the momentum because she was already, lean enough. She could kind of maintain for a bit and then go in hard again. And I almost wanted to do the opposite because I felt this has been, me doing a show was basically my lockdown diet just got out of hand and just ended up being full on. But I feel like I've made a lifestyle change now. But what I want to do is practice kind of going in and out of it rather than living in, not fear, but having to stay like this. I wanted to try and kind of ebb back into the way things kind of were a bit, and then just find kind of the balance. Balance is a word that doesn't come into my vocabulary that often. So will you, if you're going to focus on that, do you think you will be like competing again next year? Or
yeah, so obviously I never intended to be competing again this year. It's only because I won at PCA and I got the invite to the British final. So I was too good an opportunity not to do, because I just didn't expect it. Like Charlie on the morning was like, how are you feeling? And I was like, look, I know the standard's like incredibly high, like I just want to go have fun, see sort of where I sit, and then we can build on that. So to win it was massive for me. Like I wasn't expecting it. And then so obviously I made the decision to do the British finals, and that's why I'm kind of like, well, I'm already lean. The 2 bros is a couple of weeks after, and again I know the standard is really high for 2 bros, but it'd be quite good to see where I sit in that federation and get the feedback to see what I need to work on. And then I want to go into a long off season then from there and build some more muscle. I know I need to grow my legs and my glutes a lot more, and then maybe towards the end of next year, even the year after, go back and look at sort of PCA and 2 bros again from there. But definitely a break after this one.
Got some more medals and trophies, I was going to say. Christmas next year. All in a year's work. I find legs bottom half, and I think also for females in general, although there's not any, haven't seen any fat on you for a while. It's where I don't know where just I hold all my weight, which is just an absolute nightmare. Getting my back will be like paper, and you can see everything on, and my entire arse is like still there, refusing to budge. I'm like, come on.
I would say because of pole dancing as well. Obviously, my upper body is a little bit more shredded than my lower body, so it does take a bit longer to get my glutes in.
Yeah, sure. And let's go back to that post quickly, because this is kind of what sparked the idea. really to get you on just to have a chat about it, because I had the same thing when I did the show back in 2018, and a little bit now, I guess, after my pro from losing that weight. And I think it's the whole orange tan thing that people just can't sort of get on board with necessarily, which is fine. And funny enough, I've had people saying, "Oh, you look so much better in that photo shoot that you did." And I said, "You do realise that was less than 24 hours after the photos were taken for the show. It's just, the way things look." But yeah, people commenting on other people's weight and appearances. You said, actually, and I've just written down a quote. You said on that post, 98% of people are supportive, but 2% of people can easily start to change your mindset and let negative thoughts creep in. And again, it goes back to that environment that you're in and the people that are surrounding you, the stuff that you're exposed to that kind of gets in your head and sort of brings you down. So how was that for you? What were the kind of comments you received anyway? I think someone said you look horrid, like too skinny and all of that, which is just as bad to me as saying someone looks fat, which now, because that's so out in the open, that people don't do anymore. But I think this is just as bad.
Yeah, and I genuinely don't think a lot of people realise what they're saying in a way. But yeah, so I mean, that particular incident that triggered me to write that post, I thought the person was asking out of interest. They were like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you losing all this weight and stuff?" So I explained it to them. I was talking to them about it, and I was saying, "Oh, obviously at the minute I'm dropping body fat, so you can see my muscles more. And then after I'll be slowly reversing out of it, building back up some body fat, and then I'll be able to train harder and stuff again." And they were like, "Oh, good, because you look horrid." And I was just like, "Oh, thank you." Like, how do you react to something like that? Like, it's really, I mean, you could just have a paddy and go off. But then also at the time I was just like, "Oh, right, yeah, okay." I didn't really know, it threw me. I didn't really know what to say. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, why would you say something like that to somebody? And like you said, a lot of people get it, and you wouldn't go around to someone and be like, "Oh, you look horrid because you're fat." Like, so why go and say, "Oh, you look horrid because you're skinny?" And especially when you've got a goal and like you're explaining why you're losing the body weight, because it can be shocking for people to see. I saw one of my mum's friends a couple of days ago who I haven't seen since before I started this, and she was like, "I just can't stop looking at your face. It's so thin," because for her, it's just a shock to see you looking so different to what you're used to. But yeah, I just don't think they think about it before it comes out of their mouth and realize that it can actually then start playing with you mentally, because no one wants to look horrid, do they? No.
Yeah, but again, that's just someone's opinion, isn't it? And I think I've had kind of less backlash, as it were, or kind of comments this time around, because I think people have followed my journey on social media, whereas before I didn't really say anything, and it was just kind of show day, and it was like, "Where did Camilla go?" And I was quite thin, and sort of people get worried. But even so, I don't know if they were kind of following, whoever this was had followed your journey or knew what you were up to. But even that, people should just think, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too. It's like, actually, if you don't know, ask what the journey is, ask what the reason is, and just think, I guess, before you speak. Out of turn in a way, because you didn't ask for. I guess the argument is, people would say, "Well, you're asking for it. It's very kind of showy, sparkly bikinis and all that kind of jazz stage. So you want to be judged, but it's it's not about that. It's just all part and parcel." So I don't know if that gives people ammo to feel like, well, I can say whatever I want to you.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, I've always been quite confident in my body, and I am quite good at just brushing off what people say. Like, a lot of things do sort of bounce off me, but I can imagine for somebody who does already have, is more leaning towards having issues with their body, a bit more body dysmorphia, that it could affect them a lot more, and it could then trigger them to be in an even worse place. So it's hopefully people who are going into this sport, that's one thing I'd say for first timers is just make sure you're happy with your body before you go into it, because you will get comments like that and they can be difficult sometimes.
I totally second that. Absolutely. I think from my and also it's hard to see yourself putting on weight back on again, although you haven't quite got there yet. You got that.
4 kilos, I think. 4 kilos I got up from after my comp, and then obviously I'm dropping back down, but it was all right. I felt better. I actually felt better with the 4 kilos on than stage weight.
Yeah, you get a bit of strength back, don't you? A bit more colour in your cheeks and a bit more, just feel a bit more normal, a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
So edgy. Amazing. So, I mean, how would you say competing has changed you? Like overall, your outlook. I know you mentioned productivity before. I don't know if that's kind of filtered out into your work life as well, or maybe it hasn't changed you. I don't know.
Yeah, no, just much more productive in my overall life. I would say healthier, because even though I was training and stuff before, like it's much more structured now. I do feel a lot better within myself. Probably not the last week or two before comp, but the rest of the time, I do feel a lot more energized. I'm not as tired. I just generally feel much better, which is obviously not what I expected. I thought it would be harder in a way. I mean, it is hard, but not as hard as I expected it to be. Yeah, that's about it, really.
Once you get in a flow with stuff, has it taught you anything about consistency? Because it certainly has me.
Yeah, definitely. Like you've just got to be consistent with it. And it, like I say, it's easier because you're consistent. If you're not consistent, then it becomes difficult because you're always trying to play catch up on yourself.
I think that's so true of a lot of things in life, though, as well.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Kind of starting and in and out, and actually that's quite draining. Whereas if you're consistent, then there's the 80 like 20% rule as well, which works, I think, well in life and in terms of having an actual life outside of show prep and in keeping 80% of the week relatively clean and on track, and just relaxing a bit for the 20% and not tracking and not kind of worrying about things. So cool. Yeah, I totally get that with all the learning. And so what does a typical day look like for you at the moment? And obviously this is your plan at the moment that you're on in terms of food and what you're training and how much lifting and cardio you're doing. But what's your kind of typical week looking like? 2 weeks out, you said, from the show?
Yeah, so I'm 2 weeks out on Saturday. So I've got fasted cardio at the moment. So get up, do my fasted cardio, and then depending how hungry I am, sometimes I'll walk the dog, or I'll eat first and then walk the dog.
What cardio are you doing? You mix it up?
Vary, mostly running. I've just bought a pink treadmill. So if I can get out, I'll go out. It depends on if I'm on an early or a late shift, because I've got the dog to sort and he doesn't like being left on his own. So I'll either run on the treadmill, or if I can get out, I will run outside, because honestly, time goes a million times faster if you're running outside than if you're running on a treadmill. Occasionally I'll go on the stepper, but obviously steppers are hard, so I don't like it.
Stairmaster or the stepper?
Yeah, the Stairmaster.
I love the Stairmaster. I used to love that machine.
I just look at the time every 30 seconds and I'm like, why is it not moving?
I used to have a book. I used to try and read a book or cover the time, but every so often I'd like peek. I think the end of it, when you're like sweating, it's like 5, 6 in the morning and you're back there like 10 p.m. at night and you're just like shooting out. I'm so over it.
It's so bad. But yeah, so doing fasted cardio, and then I work shifts, so it just depends on what I'm working. But I'll have I'm training 5 times a week, so I do 2 upper body and 3 lower body sessions a week. And then I teach pole twice a week. At the minute, I seem to be covering Pilates all the time at the moment. And then it's just fitting sort of my meals and stuff around that. So I'm on like 7 meals a day at the moment. So it's good. I don't mind it. And I'm not on that low calories, actually. I think I've just gone down to sort of 1900 calories a day. So it's not that bad at all, really.
1900?
Mm.
Yeah. See, yeah, you've got lots of, I think people think you're just like sub 1,000 calories, or people that prep well, but no, there's plenty of food because you've got to sustain your workouts, right?
Yeah, so it's very rare I drop below 2000. It's only the last sort of few weeks. I think the last prep I got down to 1800, but that's the lowest I've been so far on any of them. So that's good. My body responds quite well when I start cutting and doing the cardio and stuff. Generally, I say it responds well. Nothing happened last week, but the weeks around it were really good. So it balances it out.
Amazing. And what kind of foods are you eating? Just foods that you like, foods that you enjoy? I saw you mention cream of rice, actually, which I have my first.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
I've just started using it. The first time I had it, I was like, oh, I'm really not sure. I feel like it's a hype. But then I've added blueberries and stuff in, and it's actually really nice. But yeah, so when I'm this close, I try and stick to the same sort of stuff just for consistency. So I have like a chicken and rice meal, which I like marinate the chicken in like different flavors, and I have it with like peas or something like that. Then I generally have like a sweet potato meal with either chicken or fish or turkey. And then I have a couple of carb-free meals, and then my oats or my cream of rice sort of around my workouts. And then I have
syrup, by the way, in cream of rice works well.
what does
the skinny syrups.
Yes, I've got loads of them. I've literally got every single flavour of skinny syrup you can imagine. I keep going in B&M and my husband's like, the fridge cannot take any more stuff buying it. And then I'll see another flavour and I'm like, oh, but I haven't got this one.
You know what? I made that recipe. I asked you for that recipe ages
ago. The baked toast.
It took me ages. I bought baking powder and I had the vanilla protein powder, and I basically had it sitting there for ages. I just couldn't ever be bothered to make it. And then because I was going back on like prep the shells, like I'd never get this done. It was completely inedible and disgusting. The whole thing went in the bin. So I obviously I don't know, like nutmeg and the carrots and it was just an absolute mess. So
you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. The carrot cake baked oats I have probably like 5 times a week, like around my workouts. I absolutely love it. Like it's so good. Did you blend the oats before?
I did blend the oats before. I did it in my juicer thing. Yeah, just so there was like powder. Yeah, I don't know what I did. It might have been the baking powder. It was not good.
Maybe I'll do a video and then you can try it again.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll give it a miss. We'll see. But it's really funny with the skinny syrup. Like, I'm not sure. Do you want to hear the conversation? Yeah, this skinny syrups. It's amazing how your palate changes. And I don't know. You mentioned about marinating. Like I've never used so many herbs in my life, trying to get flavor out of chicken or turkey, or anything, even just salad leaves. Like everything goes on there. But also, I tried the skinny syrup, the Skinny Food Company dressing, which when I got it, I was kind of eating what I wanted at the time, and it just tasted like sugar and like really horrible. But now food is kind of a bit more limited, should we say. I'm actually loving it on salad because it just gives that taste.
It grows on you.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know about you, and this is another big, I guess, takeaway for me with prepping for a show is the amount of appreciation I have for lots of things. But food in particular, like I really enjoy food more when I have it and I'm not just eating mindlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I came out of the shows before, obviously I had a period where I was a little bit more flexible, and the first couple of days I was just eating stuff and I was like, do you know what, like I've been waiting for this for so long and it's really not as good as I thought it would be. Like some things were amazing, but other things I was like, oh, I could live without this. And then at work, like they'd bring stuff in, and when I was on prep, and I was like, actually I know they're not that good. And like you say, your taste changes. So like I love my meals that I have. Like obviously you find stuff that you like. So even though my meals are consistent, I make them to my taste. So I really enjoy my food, definitely. Apart from after the comps, I stupidly ordered like 7 cookie dealer cookies, and I had like one a day, and they're about 1,000 calories each, but I just couldn't stop eating them, so I haven't ordered them this time.
Cookie what?
Cookie dealer, they do those big cookies that are like stuffed.
No, I don't need to know about this.
They're so good. The peanut butter one is honestly incredible, and I'd ordered like 7. I was like, oh, they'll last me, or I'll share them with my husband. I ate a whole one a day consistently until they were gone, and then I nearly ordered some the other day, and I was like, no, this is just prep brain. Get off the website. Yeah.
Just filling up your cart for like the month time or whenever you can kind of eat it. Man, you're right, it doesn't taste that great, and you just feel like ill, and it's not wonderful. What does your husband think of all this, by the way? Because I'm just the first show that I did, my mum said, if you ever do this again, I'm not coming anywhere near you. You were horrid, horrible. This time around, apparently I've been very okay and pleasant. Well, up until July, but I don't live with anyone, so apart from the dogs, and the dogs do sometimes get it, bless them. Well, I just had the one at the time. But yeah, how does your husband? Because you've heard of couples sleeping in like separate bedrooms and just really staying out each other's way, because it can really stress on a relationship as well, can't it? You being really focused on something which you have to be in order to succeed, and the other person not understanding.
He's been really, really good, actually. Obviously, you do get a bit snappy when you're a bit hungry sometimes, and you're right, the dog gets it taken out on him all the time. He has to sit in his bed when I'm close to a comp. But he's actually really good because he's into fitness and stuff himself. And he always pushes me towards my goals. So like when I started pole dancing, I'd said, oh, this is really cool, I want to do this. He's the one that sort of found me classes and stuff to go to and got me into that. And then with this, he always encourages me to sort of keep going with things if it's something I enjoy doing. So that's really good. Obviously he knows I'm going to be a bit more moody, and I think over time you kind of get used to that feeling. So like the first time when I was doing it up to Pure Elite, I think I was a bit more of a dick. And like at work, they did actually, my manager was like, viewers have noticed you're a little bit hangry at the moment. But I think as you get used to that, you can kind of recognize it a little bit more and be like, right, I'm being a bit intolerant here. Like I need to give myself a talking to. And I think I've got a bit better this time round. But there'll be occasions, and I work shifts, so we don't spend a huge amount of time together, so it's all right.
That's the secret. That's the key, isn't it? Just passing ships in the night.
Yeah, literally.
I'm so glad I did those. So like the YouTube videos that I was doing, just to hear myself back. And there was one point, I think it was the last one for the Miami Pro Show, where I'm literally just having an absolute meltdown over nothing. Like I just woke up on the wrong side of the day. And when you can hear yourself, and I actually say at one point, I'm really glad I recorded this because I'm going to watch this later and just think, what on earth? Because you might think from like crazy places. So it's obviously, you just got to catch yourself out on that thinking and just go, I'm being, as you said, an absolute dick.
Sort yourself out.
Oh my God, well, it's just been amazing to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Wishing you, oh my God, like all the luck in the world for the show. Not that you need it, you're totally going to smash it.
Thank you.
I will be keeping up to date on your Instagram, on your Insta stories, so I can, just see everything that's going on. Wish you luck on the day. But if people want to come and follow you and find you, where's the best place to send them to? Would it be Instagram or elsewhere?
Yeah, Instagram is pretty much at the moment the only platform I'm using. I do have Facebook, but I never really put anything on there. So yeah, Instagram, which is Birdie with a Y _ Hilton. And I mostly post my bikini stuff and pole dancing stuff at the moment. So yeah.
Amazing pole dancing videos, guys. You definitely have to check it out. And obviously gorgeous photos and just like lots of amazing physique shots with trophies in hand. So it's all very inspiring and motivating stuff. So make sure you go over there and check Katie's account out.
Thank you.
So yeah, good luck with everything. I'm sure I'll be chatting to you most days anyway, I'm sure, on the gram. But thank you so much again. You're an absolute superstar. Amazing. Keep smashing it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got some good takeaways from today. And if so, then please do leave a review. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and you can find further insights and tools over at camillacollins.com.